What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Always Next Year podcast, a more of a breaking news edition. Well, not really breaking. It happened earlier today. The Flyers fired Dave Hakstol finally after what seems like ages. Um, I'm Robert Gilmore. I'll be hosting this segment, I should say. I'll be joined by Shane. Shane, how's it going?
Going all right, man. It's going all right. Multiple Dave Hakstol firings in 48 hours. That's been
Finally, one confirmed today. It's about damn time. All right, so before we begin the segment here, I just want to remind you guys hit that subscribe button. Also, if you're listening to us on iTunes, give us a 5-star rating. Go ahead and give us a review as well. Let us know how awesome we are, what we can do to improve our segments. We're always looking for some constructive criticism. So if you could please go ahead and do that, that would be greatly appreciated. All right, so getting into this, one of the first things that I heard, and it was something that you mentioned in the group chat, was that Chuck Fletcher actually had no intention of firing Dave Hakstol today, but then Hakstol came to him asking for more or less a vote of confidence, and when Hakstol asked for that, then I guess Fletcher maybe felt cornered into making a move, and so he ended up going ahead and firing Hakstol. And it's a bit of a messy situation, and you were none too pleased with it yourself. Can you explain your feelings on that?
yeah. There's still he's still a human being. And the way that the organization chose to handle this entire situation is absolutely egregious. Um, for look, we all wanted and felt it was necessary that Dave Hakstol would be relieved of duties. But was there a way to do that that did not have to particularly go this way? Yeah, absolutely. I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall during that conversation. But if Haxall truly did walk in that room and say, "Look, I'm not naive to this. I see what the media is saying. I see what's going on right now. Am I going out there and coaching? If you tell me I could ignore the noise, my job is safe. We're good here." And when Fletch couldn't give him that assurance, I understand that probably is the natural way to go is to relieve him of those duties. But it was just the way these 48 hours, man, went down. That's bizarre.
Yeah, very bizarre to say the least, and really kind of a weird way to go about things. But this is the Flyers we're talking about, so that's kind of the way things go in Flyerland, unfortunately. Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of how he handled it. I thought they could have handled it with a little bit more professionalism, a little bit more class. But on the plus side, no more Dave Hakstol. Do you think this was the right time for the firing to happen?
Uh, Look, personally, I think this needed to happen far sooner than it did. Um, I think that when you wait, a quarter of the way into the season, um, where you're at is kind of where you're going to be. And I think you've done a disservice to what could, and I think is inevitably the final, however many games of Wayne Simmons as a Flyer, potentially Jake Voracek. You've seen now, Ghost and Provorov regress. You're wasting another good year of Claude Giroux. I think that 5, 8, 10 games in, you see the same issues that you've seen this entire Hackstall era. At a certain point, you got to understand this. This is what this guy is, and this is what a team led by him is going to be. And you owed it to the organization and to both the youth and the core to make that move a little sooner.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I thought that this move should have been done. Honestly, I thought it should have been done after they got knocked out by the Penguins in the playoffs last year. But to wait like they did and make a move, here in the beginning of or middle of December after a rough start, it was definitely a little bit overdue and something that they needed to. It's better to get it done now than wait any longer. I mean, after an embarrassing road trip, a bad loss in Vancouver, they definitely really had no choice but to pull the trigger and make that firing then. Um, Joel Quenneville has been mentioned as probably the leading candidate to get the job. Do you think that it will end up being him, or do you have any other candidates in mind who might be considering?
I don't know. I mean, look, I trust the writers who put out the initial word of this firing before it was actually official. Um, but then that second report comes out, just like you're mentioning, and he suddenly wasn't, a candidate for the Flyers, or however that piece actually read. Um, you know, I, to me, his resume speaks volumes, and that's the guy. But naming Gordon as the interim there, with the history, I could see them conceivably giving him the duration of the year, and seeing on the way that he handles this roster and a lot of the youth that's come through him already. I could see them, staying kind of in house and going in that direction.
I definitely won't be surprised if they do that, seeing how they have a history of staying in house with these kind of things. You can go back to when they hired John Stevens as an interim guy, and then they ended up making him eventually the full time head coach. Uh, and he was under that. He did that for a few years before being replaced by Laviolette. Ultimately, I think that the best move for them is going with Quenneville, though. I mean, the guy didn't win 3 Stanley Cups by accident. You can say he had star players in Chicago, which he did, but he always had great teams there. He's always had great teams when he coached in St. Louis, but not nearly as much talent there. So I think you got to go with the guy who is a proven winner in Quenneville.
Yeah, I agree. It's if there's a coach on the market right now that I trust to sit there and integrate both youth and core members and to kind of re-energize this roster and team, it would be Q. I mean, what, three championships in a decade, a little less than a decade. Like I said, his resume speaks for itself. And while I do believe that regardless of who ends up being named the coach of the Philadelphia Flyers, the roster is going to look drastically different than what it did or does right now. I sincerely doubt that some of the, like I said, whether it's Wayne Simmons, whether it's the Jake Voracek, and again, we are a pro Jake Voracek podcast, or at least I am. Me and Baby Steve are. Um,
I
but
got a Voracek jersey. That counts, right?
it counts. It absolutely counts. You're on board. Um, but there are going to be some core guys and that are going to go, and there are going to be some pieces of that young core and that youth movement that we assumed were going to grow into natural cornerstones that may be made available in trades, to kind of expedite this now second part of the retool.
So, what do you think will be the immediate effect of the firing? What do you think that will do to the locker room, do to the players? Will they be energized? Will they be motivated? Will they, continue to play with the same disinterest that they've had over the past few games? Usually, when a guy gets fired, when a coach gets fired, the locker room kind of responds positively in the following games. Do you think that will be the case?
I think first, I don't know if you listened to any of the interviews that were said today. Everyone there said the exact right thing. They said the same things that every locker room says when their coach has been dismissed. Is we feel as the veterans we've let our coach down, we've let our guy down, and we are the reason that he got fired. Um, I think that there will be a handful of members of this team that are certainly going to bounce back, and they're going to come out energized. I think those are going to be the guys who have been energized throughout the duration of this season so far, anyway. I think the immediate effect for me is probably going to be, um, I think that they're going to find some sort of line consistency and chemistry there that they can build upon. I don't know if the wins will translate right away, but I do think that this new staff with Gordon there is going to sit there and evaluate everything they have and put each player in the best position to succeed based purely off of what they're seeing now versus what they have seen for the duration of the Hakstol era.
Yeah, I don't know if they'll be able to respond quite the way that they did when they fired Laviolette and they hired Berube and they kind of caught lightning in the bottle, ended up making a run to the playoffs that year. But yeah, it definitely will be interesting to see how they respond to this change.
Yeah, I agree. If anything, the building is so difficult to play in because this fan base is so jaded and has just been so beaten down. We've kind of talked about it with the Eagles a lot this year. It's the way they've lost games, the amount of injuries. There isn't as much life in the room when you're watching an Eagles game. Last year obviously it's a magical run. This Flyers team, I mean, I literally sit here, watch these games, and when bad shit inevitably happens every 3.5 minutes on the ice, I literally just laugh to myself in frustration, shake my head, tweet my little piece, pick my eyes back up, carry the hell back on because I expect nothing less. Now you got to do that in front of 20 plus thousand people at the Wells Fargo Center. And as you mentioned before, whether it's in articles or any of our podcast segments, the place is a fucking library. That's no way to play an energetic sport and a physical sport like hockey. You need the support of your fan base. So if nothing else, when they take the bench and Hakstol's no longer there, I hope to God that there's energy in the building for a change and that helps carry and breed some momentum in there for these guys and that brings some positivity back to the ice.
Yeah, the home ice advantage really hasn't been an advantage at all under Hackstall. Like you said, they don't show energy. They don't play with any sort of passion, any sort of desire to at least defend their home ice in front of the home crowd. Do you think that's something that could change with they make the right head coaching hire?
Yeah, absolutely. I've always been, a believer that, head coaches in almost any sport, they don't sway the win column so drastically that they're the sole reason that you're in the playoffs. There are very few coaches in the history of the game in any of these four major sports, I believe, that push you that much and that sway that 8, 10, 12 games. Um, but if nothing else, I do believe that if you put the right coach in place here, look, me and Baby Steve have preached it throughout the entire offseason and the early portions of this season. This is the deepest forward depth that they've had. The defense group, or the defensive group is, while they're struggling right now, they too fairly deep. Obviously, the AMAC thing is the AMAC thing. Foline thing is the Foline thing. Gudis, look, he's up and down. I'm a Gudis guy, but I can recognize his limitations too. But putting the right guy in place to evaluate the talent and the fit, that's what I'm looking at. And I think they did the right thing in going outside the organization, getting Fletcher. I think that it would behoove them to do the same thing when it comes into their next coaching decision for who's going to take over full time. Get the different set of eyes in here, get them to evaluate just a little bit differently. Please replace the entire fucking coaching staff. I suppose you can keep No Block. He's pretty highly regarded, but even him, man, this power play is fucking atrocious.
Get rid of LePerriere.
Absolutely get rid of Perrier. But look, this is going to be about what kind of chemistry can this new guy come in here and create in chaos. Because right now, this organization is in shambles. And whatever they do, it's going to be chaotic for a little bit.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Definitely agree that they need a major shakeup as far as the coaches go. One thing that I said this before the season started, I said it last year. I feel like they have the talent there to at least be a playoff contender, a team that can make the playoffs, maybe even win a round or two if they have the right matchup. So that's what's been most disappointing to me this season is that, like I said, they have the talent, they just haven't performed well. And to me, that reflects on the coaching. So I'm hoping that with a new head coach, they can kind of rejuvenate the team a little bit and get them all playing to their potential.
I certainly agree. I think more so than anything, when you're losing hockey games, and look, the players, they're not naive to what the fan base is saying as well. They're 20,000 people a night or 15,000 people a night there at Wells Fargo Center for that matter. Just screaming and showering them with their disapproval of the style of play on ice. They've mentioned in interviews that this is not an easy building to play in anymore for them at home, as opposed to what it used to be, not an easy place to play for visitors. I think at any rate right now, they're at a point where they're just pressing so goddamn hard. I think that you've lost your head coach, lost the GM, players are going to move. There's going to be absolutely no expectation, I would expect, in the next, I don't know, 2 weeks maybe, for the duration of this season. It's purely going to be about just go out and play hockey. Let's just figure this shit out. No one's expecting us to do anything, and not unlike we're seeing with the Eagles, not unlike how the Philadelphia Phillies started last season or how the 76ers ended last season. When that pressure's kind of off, there's no telling what your natural ability can do, as opposed to when you're sitting there just pressing for 60 minutes a night.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a factor with them. See if they are pressing under a new coach, or if they, if they feel rejuvenated or something like that. What would you say is the biggest thing that you were looking for? This is the last question here, or last thing that I really wanted to hit on. I don't know if you have anything else you want to talk about, but what is the one major thing that you're looking for out of the new head coach?
Biggest thing for me is finding consistency and chemistry. There was constant line juggling and shuffling, whether it was in between games, whether it was in between periods, whether it was during shifts. I felt like it was extremely difficult or it would be extremely difficult for any player to get accustomed to their line mates and build the natural chemistry you need on the ice. You can tell, when that top line from Tampa is playing together and they're all healthy. You don't even have to look. You just know and feel exactly where the puck is going to be. I don't know that you have a natural connection there between three players on a line on this team. You can argue that the Giroux, Konechny, and Coots there have it. You could even argue that remove TK and put Jake Voracek there. There's been some semblance of that, but there hasn't been that on any type of consistent basis. And I think you actually hit the head. I don't know if you remember saying this, but on one of our first Flyers podcasts, you had mentioned it was prior to the JVR signing. You had said you don't know why you would bring this guy in. He's not a natural fit for the pieces that we have. Well, we have a lot of money and years invested in this guy now. You need to find a way to make his ass a natural fit. And I think that's what they're going to have to do. They're going to have to sit there and dissect, whoever this new coach is, dissect which pieces are the pieces that they see part of this process, part of that next chapter, part of the next winning phase of hockey in Philadelphia, and do what you can to maximize their skill set and talents. Find guys that will match and mirror them. That's the biggest thing I'm looking for out of the next coach, whoever that may be.
And I just put a article out for those of you listening on that whole, JVR bit, finding the right fit for him. Just a little bit of a write-up. I mean, good 2-3 minute read probably, but if you're interested, go ahead and check it out on our newly launched website, I should say, which is pretty awesome. You should go check that out as well. But yes, I definitely agree. The biggest thing is just, finding the right fit for all the players. Like I said, talent, I think, is there. Chemistry, not so much, and that's the reason why they've had their struggles so far. So, yeah, the biggest thing, just getting all the guys in the right place where they need to be with the right line mates, with the right defensive pairings. They called up Carter Hart, which is a move that I'm not too sure about. I'd be interested to see how much playing time he gets. Do you think that he gets a start here and there?
I'm pretty sure he is starting tomorrow night. Look, for anyone who ends up watching and listening to this, this is not. I don't really think it matters if unless he comes out and in his first 3 appearances he gets 3 shutouts and looks absolutely unstoppable. This is not a forever move right now. Like, this second newbie is truly healthy enough, at least in the eyes of the Flyers, to send his ass back out there. He's going to go back out there. Same thing with Elliott. And then eventually same thing with Stolarz, as he showed the ability to at least be an adequate goaltender when not run into the ground by an incompetent coach. But I don't think that this is something that we as Flyers fans should expect for the rest of the year is a bunch of Carter Hart starts. And ideally, you shouldn't want that. We can be excited for him. He's going to get a taste of what NHL hockey's like. He, if anything else, is going to ignite some energy in this building tomorrow night. And that's fucking huge. So I think that if anything, that could be something more so than the coach removal. That's going to put some juice in the locker room. But this theoretically should not be the long-term goal for this current season to get Carter Hart up here. You got to let him, just kind of keep percolating down there in the minors and working on his craft and learning with American hockey. Long-term for this season, you should not see more than a handful of games up here.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. It's too early to force him in to be the full-time guy. But like you said, it'll be nice to see him get out there tomorrow night, maybe energize the crowd a little bit and give us as fans something finally to be excited about. It's been a long time coming for that. I think we covered pretty much everything in regards to the coaching change. I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to add.
No, about the only thing I want to add is the fact that I'm sitting here in my dining room right now, and you got that sick hat set up right now. Dig that.
This is my perfect backdrop for any time I do a Skype conversation.
I dig it. I'm literally one floor below our studio, and I was like, nah, fuck it. The computer's in the dining room. Let's just sit the hell down. I'm in here looking like I'm running a corporate.
You gotta probably have a perfect view of the television watching the Sixers get their asses kicked right now.
Here's the thing. You remember the first time that we recorded a segment down here instead of in studio, and we were watching the hockey game doing so, and I celebrated a goal that was a replay of a goal in intermission because I wasn't.
My God, man, I do remember that.
So needless to say, that television is not on right now. Otherwise, I would not have gotten through this conversation.
That's probably a good thing because the Sixers are down 22 points right now.
That's a real dude. That is a train wreck of a team right now.
Yeah, it's not much better than the Flyers.
Not at all.
Well, as long as that's everything.
Good for me.
Yeah. This has been the Always Next Year podcast, recapping the firing of Dave Hakstol, the temporary hiring of Scott Gordon as the interim head coach, and we will wait to see who they ordain the next full-time head coach of the Philadelphia Flyers. Joel Quenneville's name has been mentioned. Nothing confirmed in that regard. So we will keep you posted when we find out who they decide to go with. But in the meantime, like I said before, hit that subscribe button. Give us 5 stars on iTunes. Give us a review. Let us know what you like and what you don't like. We appreciate all of it. Appreciate your feedback. And yeah, this has been the Always Next Year podcast. I'm Rob alongside Shane. Thank you for watching.